watching KCAL 9 News at 2.
So cool. The Lord of the Rings series was a bestseller. It went on to become a very successful movie franchise, and now it's taken the music world by storm. The Lord of the Rings in concert. It's an arena tour that features the Oscar and Grammy-winning score performed live right there on stage.
Musician Doug Adams and advisor for the concert is one, I should say. He joins us now to talk about the tour, which is coming to Southern California. This is kind of a cool idea. It sounds like it's really neat. We watch the movie, but we hear the music live.
Yes, exactly right. There's a giant screen above the orchestra, so on stage you have a full-sized orchestra, a full chorus, a children's chorus, and then the individual soloists as well.
And this is something that's never really been done before. I've seen symphonies do the music for the movies, but this is actual live with the movie.
Yeah, not quite like this. This is the entire film played with the score, synchronized just as it would have been when people see it in the theater or see it at home. Of course, it's a much more dynamic experience. But it's never really been tried with a full-length film like this. You get a few scenes here and there, but this is the entire picture this time.
You know a little bit about this music. You did a book last year about it.
Yes.
It's pretty cool in the way the whole thing is just kind of taken. The Lord of the Rings is just kind of taken off in a world of its own.
It's really become sort of its own part of the world, absolutely. You know, it began as these novels that Tolkien wrote, and then it turned into the films that Peter Jackson wrote, and now this music that Howard Shore composed for the films has taken on a life of its own as well. And then, of course, the book ties into all that.
And the music has already won a lot of awards. We're talking Oscars, Grammys.
Yeah, it was really, you know, Howard Shore is not known for this type of score prior to Lord of the Rings. He'd written a lot of very cerebral pieces for director David Cronenberg, family things. He wrote Big, Mrs. Doubtfire, things like this. But this is the first time he'd written something on this scale, a giant operatic scale in a way. And it introduced the world really to his music in a much larger way, and I think people were enormously fond of it.
There's also vocals here. I mean, there's a chorus in there, a chorale.
Full chorus, soloist, a boys' chorus as well, often singing in the languages that Tolkien created. Tolkien was originally a linguist. He's a philologist, a professor of language in Oxford. So he created these languages that occur in, you know, there's a full Elvish language, two of them in fact. And so the choral music for this is written in those created languages, the language that Tolkien created for the novels.
Very cool.
And 200 musicians on stage. Where did these musicians come from? Did they actually work on the film?
No, this is the Munich Symphony Orchestra, so it's an existing orchestra. Every year they've done premieres of this. Some of these pieces have played in Europe before, and this conductor, Ludwig Vicky, will always do this with his orchestra in Switzerland, and then the next stop is always Munich. So they're familiar with the piece. They've been through this before. It's quite a demanding thing, you know. It's a long amount of concentration. Orchestras are used to doing a sort of thing in a Mahler symphony or something like that. But in terms of a film score, that's a long time to stay focused. So it's good to have an orchestra that knows these pieces. And it's really becoming sort of film music repertoire at this point, which is very exciting to see that happen.
Is it set up so that the director is seeing the film, much as a Broadway play would be, but the musicians are not seeing it?
That's correct in a sense. Yes, the musicians are on the stage facing toward the audience. The giant screen would be behind them. The conductor has a small monitor next to his podium where he can see the film, and there's a series of different colored flashes and streamers and punches that help them keep it synchronized. I compare it to somebody rubbing their head and patting their stomach in front of 10,000 people for 3 hours straight. It's very demanding.
Yeah, it sounds like it requires a lot of concentration on everybody's part here.
I know that Lord of the Rings has a big following, both the books and the movie series, but people who enjoy music would enjoy the show. You don't have to know about the movie.
Exactly right. I think that's one of the unique things about this, is that it appeals to those people that are the Tolkien diehards. You know, they've known this stuff for decades, and they can speak the languages themselves. At the same time, it's an enormously wonderful way to experience these movies for the first time. You see a lot of families there, and little kids are, that one's the violin, and that one's the oboe, and that one's the trumpet. It's the first time they've heard a live orchestra. And I think people take away just as much if they are intimately familiar with these pieces or if they're experiencing them for the first time. You know, it's not like watching a picture in the theater or in your basement home setup. It's a completely separate dynamic. And I think people take away something very unique from this experience. Yeah.
It sounds like it's a lot of fun. For more information about Lord of the Rings in concert and a link to that website, just go to our website, kcal9.com. Click on Seen on TV. We have the link there for you. It's going to be in Anaheim when?
October 15th.
It's the only Southern California
Are they going to do
show.
the other two movies?
That's the hope. That's the hope. Let's see.
If this works out.
Yeah, if this works out, it'd be a great idea.
Very good.
All right. Thank you, Doug.
Thanks a lot.
My pleasure. Thank you.
A 98-year-old man blowing away stereotypes.
It proves you're never too old to embrace